Have you got some time to answer a couple of questions?
Talk is cheap. Alcohol isn't. What do you want to know?
What can you tell me about this place?
Coach and Horse has been here for as long as I can remember. In fact, my dad used to come here when I was a lad.
I'm sure you're doing him proud by working here.
He'd be plenty proud if he was still alive.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Of course you didn't, but 17 pints a day will do that to you. I'd like to think he helped keep this place in business.
A touching thought. I'd like a drink, please.
You came to the right place for it. What'll it be?
Something to make me forget my problems.
Ah, I got just the thing for you. Here you are, laddie.
Tell me about yourself.
My name's Seamus. As you can see, I'm the bartender. My job consists of serving drinks to customers, as well as lending an ear to your troubles. If you like, I can also provide entertainment in the form of jokes.
I'll keep that in mind. See you later.
Take care, laddie.
Hello? Is anybody in there? Have you got some time to answer a couple of questions?
Talk is cheap. Alcohol isn't. What do you want to know?
What can you tell me about that room upstairs?
Ah, yes. It's not much, but we rent that room out. I'm afraid you're out of luck if you need a place to stay, though. The room was empty until just this morning, when someone hired it for the week.
Rats. Who rented the room?
Funny that. I'm not sure. It's a man. That much I know. He rang us and reserved the room this morning. Even though I've been here all day, I can't recall anyone showing up to take the key. But then, there are large portions of today I can't remember, so I'm not too much concerned.
How do you know anyone is up there?
Because he keeps placing food orders.
And you haven't seen him when he comes down to order food?
That's the thing. He's been using the dumbwaiter. He sends down a note with his order, but at the bottom it always says expecting guests. Waits until arrival. So I haven't made any of his 3 orders yet.
What has your upstairs guest ordered?
Let me see. His first order was for pheasant, with a side of quiche and a juice to drink. Next, he asked for pie, with roast quail and jellies for dessert. Finally, he ordered prawns, quesadilla, and jaffa cakes.
Strange.
You're telling me we don't even serve half of this stuff?
I'd like to place an order for some food.
Ah, of course. You get a main course, a side dish, and a dessert. What will you have?
I think I'll try a blood sausage. With a side of jaffa cakes. And I'll skip the dessert, thanks.
Alright, laddie. Won't be a moment. There you are.
Thanks.
Why, Mr. Jordan, what a pleasant surprise.
Pleasant surprise.
Only joking. I knew you would find your way up here soon enough.
Wasn't it kind of dangerous sending the key down like that? Anyone could have come up.
I would have been most impressed if anyone who was not you had managed to figure out my food code.
Thanks, I think.
At any rate, feel free to make yourself at home. My apologies for the sparse decorations, but I had very little time to set up.
Well, I'm glad you're able to keep such high spirits during all this.
Oh, someone has to, Mr. Jordan. Otherwise, why bother carrying on?
You have no idea how often I've been asking myself that today. Percy?
Yes, Mr. Jordan?
I couldn't help but notice your decorative plate from Romania.
Ah, yes, I was hoping you would. That plate is a souvenir from a memorable trip I took there once. It was during my younger days, when I travelled through Europe.
No kidding. My grandfather did the same thing when he was young.
Yes, I know.
Hold on. Are you telling me you knew my grandfather?
Yes. Arthur and I were good friends. We travelled to Romania together.
How come he never mentioned you?
Oh, I wouldn't have expected him to. We had a bit of a falling out later on.
But Grandpa Arthur went to Romania in the 1920s. Were you even born then?
I'm not as young as I look, Mr. Jordan. If you'll have a seat, I can tell you about it.
Do we really have time for stories?
You have done all you can for now, and I feel this is something you should know.
Okay.
Now then, I met your grandfather in London in the early 1920s at this very pub. A mutual interest in travel and adventure meant that we quickly became friends. We travelled many places together, and in 1926 found ourselves in a small Romanian village. This particular adventure was significant not only for your grandfather, but for you as well.
I'm listening.
Scenic little town, isn't it?
Indeed, quite atmospheric. Did you know this is where Bram Stoker took his inspiration for Dracula? Count Vlad Tepes, the man who inspired Dracula, was supposedly born in this very town. Of course, he was better known as Vlad the Impaler.
Always a source of fascinating trivia, aren't you, Percy?
I do like to keep myself informed.
Right now, the only information I need is the location of the closest hotel. We've been traveling a long time, I'm beat.
Yes, a good night's sleep sounds wonderful.
Don't suppose you can read Romanian?
A bit, actually. But I'm sure there has to be a hotel around here somewhere. The town isn't very big.
Let's take a look around then. Hello, my good man. Am I correct in guessing this is the town inn?
Yes, sir. That is correct. Welcome to the Hotel Dracula. If you wish to rent a room, it will be 500 lei a night.
Sounds keen. What do you say, Perce?
Seeing as this is our only option, I think we would do well to stay here.
A room for me and one for my associate, please.
Very good. Names?
Arthur Jordan and Percy Jones.
Jordan and Jones. Excellent. Again, welcome to the Hotel Dracula. May your stay here be pleasant.
Mind if we speak for a bit?
No, sir. What do you need?
What can you tell me about this joint?
The Hotel Dracula has been in my family for several years. We do quite well. Of course, it helps to be the only hotel in town.
I can imagine. So, why the Dracula theme?
Our town is a popular tourist destination because it is the birthplace of Vlad Tepes. He was better known as Vlad the Impaler, and was.
The inspiration for Bram Stoker's novel?
Indeed, sir. You are already familiar with the local history?
Yes, I have my own personal guide, it would seem.
Only trying to help, Arthur. Knowledge is the best defense, after all.
Having you around is like wearing a full suit of armor, then. You enjoy being an innkeeper?
Yes, sir. It is a very rewarding job. I get to meet people from all over the world and hear their stories.
I guess that explains why your English is so good.
That is correct. Many English-speaking travelers come through here.
You know, I couldn't help but notice the dried brambles hanging on all the doors in town. Is that some kind of Romanian tradition?
No, sir. That is...
Yes?
It is for protection.
Protection? Against what?
It is not good to speak of it, sir.
Come now, what can be so horrible that you can't speak of it?
The headless vampire.
Did you say headless vampire?
Yes, it is an unfortunate plague upon our town.
Tell me more.
I do not know many details. You would do better asking the other townspeople, although I am not sure they would be willing to discuss it. This is a very delicate matter, and to talk about it with a foreigner...
I'll worry about the other folks. Just tell me what you know.
Very well. The headless vampire is, as the name implies, a vampire without a head. Actually, it is only the head which flies around and bites victims.
How does that work, exactly?
I am not sure. I myself have never encountered it, you see. But Dragomir, the farmer over there with the black hat, he claims his sister was bitten by the vampire.
I see. Thanks for the information.
You are welcome. But please, sir, do not go looking for the vampire. Several adventurers have come here before you and tried finding out more. None have returned to tell the tale. Seeking the vampire leads only to misery and death.
I appreciate your concern, but my friend and I are used to this sort of thing.
You are?
Ever hear of the London werewolf or the Belfast banshee?
I'm afraid not.
That's because Percy and I investigated and disproved both. I'm sure we can take care of your vampire problem.
If that is the case, I wish you luck. Perhaps our town will finally be rid of this nuisance once and for all.
We'll try our best. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
Say there, could we have a chat?
I don't see why not.
What do you know about this town?
I have lived here my entire life. Many people like to come here to learn of Dracula. We see many people from many places. I like this.
Tell me about yourself.
Wow, I am Dragomir, a simple farmer. There is really not very much interesting about me.
I hear tell you know something about this headless vampire.
Yes, I do. However, I do not like to speak of it.
Come now, I understand it's a sore subject, but surely you can tell me something.
I am afraid not. Do not take this as an insult, but I do not like talking about these things with outsiders.
But my associate and I are well versed in local legends. We've even managed to deal with a few in different parts of Europe. Isn't there any way I can gain your trust?
There may be. If what you claim is true, there is something you can do for me.
I'm listening.
North of the town square, near the cemetery, is the Sigiswara clock tower. My house is located next to it. Every night when I walk home, I hear strange noises coming from the top of the clock tower. I hear these terrible noises in the night, and they do not let me sleep. I think there is the spirit of a lost child up there, because the wailing is awful. Also, the clock has stopped working ever since this spirit appeared. Nobody has dared to go up and fix it, because they are too frightened. You must go up to the tower and help this spirit. If you do this, you will have no trouble with the vampire, and I will tell you all you want to know.
Sounds easy enough. I'll have your so-called spirit taken care of before you finish your next beer. I appreciate your time.
You are most welcome.
Think you can handle a little climb, Purse?
We'll find out when we reach the top.
That wasn't so bad.
Speak for yourself.
Well, I don't see any child spirits up here. Do you?
No, but I do hear that noise the farmer mentioned. Quite unsettling it is, too.
There has to be a reasonable explanation for it.
Perhaps some further investigation is required.
Hey, Purse, let's have a bull session.
Yes, Arthur?
How are you holding up, old boy?
I think I may be on the verge of cardiac arrest. Climbing stairs is not my forte.
This whole headless vampire thing sounds pretty spooky.
I'm sure it will turn out to be some sort of hoax. Perhaps some local townsperson playing tricks.
If that's the case, they've certainly done a good job of pulling one over on everyone around here. Any suggestions regarding our next move?
I think we should find out more about this spirit the farmer claims is haunting the clock tower.
Think you can give me a hand here?
Certainly. What do you need?
This beam is stuck in the machinery, and I need your help to pull it out.
Very well. On 3. 1.
2. Attaboy. Guess that takes care of the spirit problem.
Indeed. The farmer will be glad to hear about this, I'm sure.
Say there, could we have a chat?
I don't see why not.
I have good news for you, Dragomir. It turns out the clock tower isn't haunted after all.
It isn't?
Nope, there was a beam that had come loose and caught itself in one of the gears. That's what was causing the clock to stop working, as well as the noises.
Ah, yes, that does make sense. Now, I feel foolish. Perhaps I should not be so eager to blame problems on the supernatural.
Not all of them, anyway. This other one sounds like the real McCoy. Now could you please tell me what you know about the headless vampire?
Yes, my sister was bitten by the vampire.
What happened?
She was walking alone at night in the cemetery. I told her not to do this. She knows it is dangerous. But she did not listen, and she was attacked by vampire.
Is she alright?
Yes, she got lucky. The bite was not deep. She was able to escape, but told me what she had seen. It was unmistakably the headless vampire.
What else do you know about it?
Not much, I am afraid. According to the legend, the vampire is a woman who used to live in this town. You should ask my friend Florian here. He knows much about the legend of the vampire.
You mentioned your sister's vampire bite wasn't very deep. Does that make any sort of difference?
Yes. If vampire bites you, it does not mean you become a vampire. The vampire must bite you and drink your blood in order for this to happen. If vampire bites you but does not drink your blood, you become weak for a few days, but nothing else happens. This is why it is important to try and escape vampires as soon as possible.
Interesting information. I'll keep it in mind. I appreciate your time.
You are most welcome.
Pardon me, but could we talk a moment?
Of course, young man. What do you need?
What can you tell me about the town?
We have a rich history, although most of it is very bloody. Vlad the Impaler was born here. He gained quite an infamous reputation, as I'm sure you are aware.
That's what I hear.
The best way to experience Sigisora is to walk the streets and take in the environment. Just be careful where you go and when you go there.
Tell me about yourself.
My name is Florian Gogoasa, and I am the town butcher. My shop is located on the west end of town, if you decide you would like to buy some meat. I lead a simple life. During the day I work at my shop, and at night I come here to drink and converse with my friends and visitors to the town.
Your friend Dragomir says you know something about the headless vampire.
Correct, I do. The headless vampire is not what you might think. Instead of a body with no head, it is the head of a vampire which floats in the air seeking victims. From the neck hangs its entrails, like a bunch of tentacles. The vampire will often trap its victims using the entrails as a restraint, then go in for the bite.
Jeepers creepers, that sounds like something I wouldn't want to meet.
Yes, it is an unpleasant sight to behold. This is why all the doors have dried brambles on them. The vampire's entrails are sensitive, and it fears getting them caught on the sharp points of the brambles. Hanging them on doors keeps the vampire away from our homes. Also, it is said that to kill the vampire, one must find its headless body and place sharp objects in the neck wound. This way, when the head reattaches, the entrails will be cut, and the vampire will die.
That's some useful information to have. Do you know anything about the vampire's history?
A bit. The legend has existed for quite some time.
Do tell.
According to the story, the vampire was originally a woman. She was unfaithful to her husband, and when he found out, it infuriated him. As punishment, he stuffed her into a barrel and sealed her in.
Sounds like a loving fellow.
The young lady tried screaming for help, but no one came. Desperate, she shifted around in the barrel until her legs were behind her head, pointing up. She kicked the top of the barrel as hard as she could, trying to open it and free herself. She succeeded, but unfortunately, she kicked with such force that she caused her head to go flying off as well.
Oh my.
With her head went her insides, and since she committed the sin of adultery, she was doomed to roam the earth as an undead.
That's quite a story. Any idea who the woman was?
No, but I do know she lived in this town. You might consider searching the town records to see if you can get any information about her, if you desire it.
Thanks. I just might do that. Thanks for the chat.
Think nothing of it.